Hey guys, what's up? John here from fly8mikealpha.com. Today, we are taking a nice little sunset flight in our Bearhawk to finally figure out what the performance specs are. Really brief, just on the bottom end and on the top end. I want to get an accurate number for stall speed and top speed on this Bearhawk. Alright, first thing we're going to check out here is our takeoff rule. How quickly can we get this thing off the ground? We got about me, half tanks, and some junk in the trunk for sure. There's some wood blocks, some chalk, some cans of oil, some random stuff in the back seat. So not light by any means, but pretty typical of how you might fly on an average day. So let's go ahead and see how this thing performs. It is cool out here. We're at about 200 feet above sea level. Altimeter is about 299. So that puts us right about sea level 4 density altitude. And yeah, let's see how this thing performs. We'll go ahead and check final. We've got one guy coming in on downwind.
Lincoln Park traffic, Red Bearhawk, departing runway 19. Be staying in the pattern, Lincoln Park.
Alright, so let's taxi out here. We're going to find one of these white lines that's about 120 feet long. We've got 20 flaps to start with to yank us off the ground. And we'll see, just depending on skill level here. I mean, I'm still kind of getting used to this thing. So it's hard for me to reach down and yank it off the ground and pull even more flaps in. I'm going to taxi up to where we get to one of these white lines that we can see that's 120 feet long. It's 80 feet between all of them. And that'll give us a good idea of how much runway we're actually using to take off here. Try to put that thing right on my left tire so I can actually see. There we are. Alrighty. And power's coming in. Airspeed's alive. Alright. And climbing out, we're going to go ahead and retract the flaps. About 1,500, 1,600, 1,800 feet a minute there, accelerating up to 70 miles per hour.
Super traffic, Cherokee, Lincoln Park traffic, Skyhawk, turning final, runway 19, Lincoln Park.
Alright, for starters, let's go ahead and figure out what our stall speed is going to be. So we're going to climb up to a safe altitude here, and we're going to figure out how slow we can make this thing fly. First, we're going to figure out which direction the wind's coming from. Looks like it's coming out of the south, so I'm going to go ahead and get away from the Class D airport. That's just to our south, give us a little bit of room to work with. We'll climb up to about 2,000 feet, nice safe altitude. We'll go ahead and do some power on and power off stalls. Alright, luckily we have this awesome little Garmin here that's going to show us exactly what our wind is doing aloft here. We'll get pointed into the wind. It may not be 100% accurate for the actual speed and everything if our PO tube or anything like that is not perfectly calibrated, but it can at least give us a great idea of what direction the wind is coming from. And we're going to put our nose right into it for the first series of stalls here. So winds aloft seem to be coming pretty much right out of the west here. That seems to be the most headwind. I'm going to go ahead and set us up here for a power off stall and see when this thing breaks. We're really going to be relying more so on the ground speed here because I'm going to do this in both directions. I'm going to go ahead and bug my heading that I'm on right now. I'll do it in the opposite direction here in a minute. We're slowing down through 80 indicated, 70 indicated. We'll go ahead and do this with full flap. Okay, there's the brake. About 26 miles per hour I think it was there. We'll go ahead and check it one more time. On our power off stall with full flaps. About 29 on that one. Okay. So yeah, somewhere between around 28 miles an hour maybe call it. Let's go ahead and turn around here. Not really losing any altitude, which is kind of fun. Make the 180, so we should have the wind right on our tail now. We'll do the same thing going the other direction. There's the brake, 52 miles an hour. It's buffeting around me. Yeah, about 52, 53. Picking up some speed now as we're riding that buffet down. 54. Yeah. Alright, so about 52, 28, something like that. Let's add them together. So that leads us to about 80. So that leads us to about 40 mile per hour-ish. You know, 40, 42 at the most with full flaps, power off, with just me in the airplane here. Let's go ahead and see if we can get a little bit further away from the Bravo airspace here and take us on up to do a power on stall because I think we're going to be getting a lot of altitude here as we do the power on stalls, so we'll want to get clear of the Bravo. So I think we'll do our power on stall, 25 squared on the power there. We'll do it clean. We're just pulling on up. Let's see what this airplane will do for us. We're going to go ahead and try to find that wind again. Before it was coming about 280. We'll see if that's still the case, or looks to be coming about 300 now at this altitude. Gonna keep pulling our nose on up there. Trying to find that slowest ground speed, 40 mile per hour, 38, 37, 35. Haven't broken yet. 26, 25. And oh, great, that stopped working because we have too much of a nose-up attitude. 17, 16 knots, 18 knots. There's the buffet brake. There, now it's giving me back my instruments because we're too far nose up. Let's go ahead and recover here back to a more reasonable altitude. So we'll try that again. We'll try to go in the other direction, 180 degrees. All right, about 25 squared there again. 85 miles an hour, slowing her down. Trying to put that wind right on the tail. There's 61 knots indicated, or 61 knot ground speed. 65, 64, 64, 63. Slowing her down there, and there's the buffet. 45, 40 indicated. And there's our brake at 60. All right, now time for the fun part. Let's see how fast this thing will go, right? Let's get a little further away from the Bravo here. We're going to get to, call it 4,000 feet or so. That should be about a 4,000 foot density altitude for us. We'll see what kind of airspeed indicated and true airspeed we can get out of this thing. There's our best headwind here, so this will be our slowest, looks like. Let's go ahead and just go to a normal cruise setting or a fast cruise setting. Be about 24 squared. So let's go ahead and do that and see what we get. There's 24 squared, showing about 11 gallons per hour. And picking up speed. 4,000 feet is what we want to hold. We'll go ahead and bug that. There's 4,000 feet, 24 squared. Showing 153 true is what we're indicating. On the Garmin anyways, 152 true. A little bit of climb there, let's lower that nose. 141, 142 indicated. 107 over the ground though, so showing a bunch of wind right on the nose. Maybe the right side of that heading bug is where the most wind is. 108 over the ground. Put our nose back down there a little bit, climb just about 40 feet. Hanging right about 152 true and 143 or so indicated. Right at 24 squared and about 11 gallons per hour. So sounds pretty good to me. 112 over the ground, that's the important one, right? 112 over the ground. Let's go ahead and do this the other direction and see what we get. All right, we put that wind right on our tail. 4,000 feet, 24 squared. Letting the airplane pick up some speed here.
Establish on the left base runway 24, Brookhaven traffic.
Showing 147, 148, 150 true, 160 over the ground, 161, 62.
Brookhaven traffic, Y Cessna is turning final for runway 24, Brookhaven traffic.
All right, 11 gallons an hour, 163 miles per hour, 165 over the ground. Level at 4,000 feet, 166.
For the field, coming in straight, 19, flying W.
All righty.
Flying W traffic.
There we are, there's our fast flight test. So the last test is far more pilot dependent here, but you guys can at least get a feel for what is the ground speed when we're touching down with relatively light to no wind on the nose. So when do the tires actually touch? And I'll see if I can touch just at the top of the numbers 19 past our displaced threshold here. Try not to carry in too much power. Still a new airplane to me, so I have a tendency to bring in a little bit of excess energy. Sometimes I float a little bit past my point of intended landing by a few feet. We'll see how I do tonight. All right, there we are. So what did we use? We've got one runway light there. And I touched, oh, man, not exactly Valdez standards, about 200 feet or the better part of it. Possibly just over 200 feet to get her down and stopped. We'll see what the ground speed was on the tape when we were actually touching down.
Okay, so that's a quick little performance review video on the Bearhawk Patrol, what we've been flying around. We've gone about Probably got about 20, 25 hours in it now. Between Steffi and I, we've put almost 50 hours on the airplane. We've been flying it for about a month now, and yeah, overall, pretty impressed. This is a quick overview, obviously. There's a lot more performance specs to talk about, a lot of different ways to test it. We will keep testing and keep making videos on it as we go along here. But just wanted to put something out here for you quickly, just before the holiday too, to kind of give you an update on where we're at with the airplane and what sort of numbers we're seeing on it now that we've been flying for a while. So, for starters, kind of working backwards, right? Landing 204 feet, roughly, is what we kind of measured it out to be. Definitely not the best out there, but hey, for an airplane that also has a true airspeed of about 139 miles an hour at 24 squared, at 11 gallons per hour, at 4,000 feet, it's pretty good. You know, it's faster than a Cub. You know, how does this airplane compare to a 170, to a 180, to a Super Cub? Well, it's pretty darn good, right? So it's roomy. It's roomier than a Cub, definitely wider than a Cub, carries more stuff. It's taking off, well, you know, to the beginning of the video, 130-foot takeoff. Could it have been better? Yeah. Is it as light as it possibly is? No. Is it as gross weight? Definitely not. So it's, when you look at these videos on the internet and you see all these performance videos, you know, we kind of try to compare apples to apples. So hopefully 24 squared, 11 gallons per hour, that's a good top-end cruise speed performance. Obviously full power on the takeoff, but weight is a huge difference. Could the airplane be built lighter? Probably. Does it need, you know, that Garmin screen there and all that? No. But about half tanks and just me, and then some junk, some jackets, whatever, you know, extension cord for plugging in the airplane. Probably a good, I don't know, 40 pounds worth of stuff in the back of the airplane and about half tanks. And we're getting off in 130 feet. Probably about 5 miles an hour, 5 knots worth of wind down the runway, maybe, or less. Really no wind out there tonight, really, except for up high, of course. So, yeah, seeing 204 feet on landing, pretty good. Definitely could be better. Could have come in and held it on the prop a little bit more power, higher angle attack. Still getting used to the airplane, though. 25 hours, I'm still getting it dialed in there. Don't want to embarrass myself, especially on camera. That'd be really awkward to be making this a how to wreck an airplane video instead of performance video. So we had our top speed test, top speed, because it's not really top speed. If I just firewalled the airplane, yeah, we would overspeed it easily, pretty much at any altitude, unless you got into like the teens, you know, like 15 or something probably. But either way, yeah, so 24 squared I thought was a good compromise, not firewalling it. And 11 gallons per hour is what that worked out to be. So if you want to compare apples to apples, go burn 11 gallons per hour in your 170 and your 180 in your Super Cub and see what it does. But we were seeing about 139 miles per hour true airspeed. That's averaging it both directions with the wind up at 4,000 feet. And that's about a 4,000 foot density L2 to give you some feel for it. So what Steph and I had initially seen with the airplane when we were taking it from Dallas over to Florida and then Florida up to Ohio was, you know, up high in the 8,500 to 10,500 range, where it really performs the best. Yeah, we were seeing about the 150 mile per hour true mark on it. Then we put a bunch of GoPro cameras all over it, and we have these big GoPro mounts. Awesome mounts. Take out, you know, all the vibration. You guys don't like shaky footage. But yeah, they did actually slow down the airplane a little bit, we noticed. Definitely when we first mounted the one out in the right wing, it yawed a bit to the right until we mounted one out in the left wing too. But yeah, those big Flight Flicks camera mounts, they're awesome. Great for mounting cameras. They do cost some airspeed, a solid, you know, couple miles per hour, if not maybe a little more there. So we were seeing 139 at 11 gallons per hour. Typically we were seeing before 150 true, down around the 9.5, 10 gallon an hour range when you got the airplane up high, where, you know, the overall airframe and the tires and stuff really aren't dragging it down quite so much. For the slow flight testing, we saw power on, clean stall speed, roughly around 44 miles per hour average. When we added those numbers together, that was the average we saw miles per hour wise. The GoPro GPS was not always accurate, so looking at that, you know, down on the bottom left-hand corner of the screen, the data wasn't super accurate on that GoPro always, especially when I was holding the camera itself. When it was mounted in front of me, it seemed to be pretty good, but just holding it sometimes wasn't reading accurately. Usually, if that wasn't reading accurately, then we just, you know, are referring to the speeds from the iPad fed by the GDL, so that's got a good GPS source, or the Garmin G3 display that's right in front of us there. that as long as we weren't at too crazy high angle of attack or deck angle, it was at least giving us ground speed on there. So we figured with the power on, it was 19 miles per hour and about 69 miles per hour, came out to about 44 mile per hour, clean stall speed, power on. Power off, dirty, 40 flap, that was down around 40 miles per hour. So yeah, again, not at gross weight, but not as light as the airplane could have been. So this airplane, yeah, out of ground effect even, will easily stall under 40 miles per hour, especially once we start playing with some VGs and things like that, which we will be doing here soon on this airplane to try to give you guys an idea of how VGs affect it and which VGs might be best. Check out a couple of different brands. But yeah, overall, that's the airplane, right? That's the performance specs that we saw on it today. Testing it up here. We're just outside of New York, just flew down the Hudson River today. Super cool footage. Lots of awesome videos from flying around New York coming soon. But that's about all I got for you. Aside from if you're looking for a holiday gift for someone, Fly at Mike Alpha sweatshirts online at flyatmikealpha.com just came in. They're really comfortable and warm. Been keeping us warm. And this one's covered in dog hair, but we'll ship you a clean one if you order one. And yeah, that's really it. Overall, airplane's pretty sweet. I would have to say it's, in my opinion, better than a Super Cub. Are there going to be things that a Super Cub does better than this? Maybe. There's going to be things that are different about it for sure. But as far as jumping off the ground in 130 feet, landing in 200 feet, and going 140 miles an hour, pretty happy with it. What's coming next is we are flying this airplane down to DC tomorrow for Thanksgiving for the holiday to visit with some family. We're going to be getting a little more time there, getting a little more familiar, and of course releasing more videos as we go here, as we work our way down the East Coast from New York, New Jersey into Philly, DC, and then eventually Richmond and Norfolk, Virginia, all before Christmas here. If you guys are in that area, what we really want to be doing is putting this airplane wingtip to wingtip with a Cub, with a Maul, with a 170, 180, and we'll be comparing them. So if you guys are along that route and you have one of those airplanes, and you want to go do some flying together, compare airplanes and see how they perform, definitely hit us up, leave it in the comments below. And most importantly, if you can't fly every day, fly at mikealpha.com. We'll see you in the next one. Happy Thanksgiving, guys.
Nice. Cool.
Oh, not done yet. Oh, hopefully we didn't land somewhere too soft.
Can we get out?